Mr. Vought, I will tell you, when I look at your budget, it offers up almost an inexhaustible supply of bad ideas for working families, for seniors, for the vulnerable. And as the ranking Democrat on the Tax Writing Finance Committee, I know that many of these ideas are paid for, certainly in part, through borrowed dollars that were generated by a tax bill stacked in favor of the 1%. And just so we're clear on this point, Mr. Vought, if I can see you, Graham Cassidy, which you touted, tanked in the Senate Finance Committee because Republicans saw that it hurt so many vulnerable people, they couldn't even bring it up. So you are recycling a proposal that was already exposed as a mess for the vulnerable, as evidenced by the fact that Republicans in the Senate Finance Committee, where I and Senator Whitehouse, in fact, Senator Enzi, we all served, Republicans couldn't even bring it up. Here's my question. One of your particularly ill-advised ideas, as it affects my part of the world, is to once again try to sell off the Bonneville Power Administration. Now, this is a plan that basically steals from Oregonians, from our businesses, from our families. It was unacceptable when George Bush tried to do it. It has been unacceptable year after year after year, and yet you still seem to be hunting and pecking for a way to advance this idea that would be so harmful to the American people. And the people it's going to hurt are the folks who are on an economic tightrope. They balance their food against their fuel, and their fuel against their medical care. And could you just explain to me, because I'm going to have town hall meetings Friday. I'm going to basically be flying most of the night to get home to small communities in rural Oregon where Bonneville Power is enormously important. Can you tell me how the administration's proposal to sell off Bonneville Power will be in the best interests of families in rural Oregon, where I'm going to be in less than 48 hours?
Sure. As you noted, we do propose to sell the transmission lines and many of the electrical assets of the Bonneville Power Administration. Most of the electricity generation transmission lines across this country are owned currently by the private sector. We believe that that can work in this situation as well, and that from the standpoint of federal taxpayers, including the people of Oregon, that they can benefit from $5.7 billion that is reducing the deficit and allowing us to save some money so that we don't have to make reductions elsewhere. So from the standpoint of your constituents, we don't think that there's going to be adverse impact, and we want to move away from the fact that when the private sector is not in charge of being able to make capital investments without the federal government being backing behind that, it's not the most efficient allocation of resources, and that's what we're trying to move away from in this budget.
Well, you finally exposed the heart of this ideological agenda. We haven't actually had somebody do that as far as I can remember. You used the word privatize. What your agenda now, and I'll make sure that folks in rural Oregon know about that this weekend, your agenda is to privatize Bonneville. I haven't even heard other conservatives say that. They've talked about market-oriented reforms, but you said you wanted to privatize it. I'll tell you, this is a loser. It is a loser for the families I represent. Senator Murray, my seatmate from Washington State, very much shares the view. And I'll just wrap up by giving you extra points for candor, because you're going somewhere where the far right hasn't really gone, and that is to, in effect, say you are for thorough privatization of Bonneville Power. And I guarantee you that's going to hurt a lot of people in our part of the world, and I hope you'll rethink it. Thank you, Mr.